This video is sponsored by Kospet watches. You know what? Crow ain't half bad, especially if it's seasoned properly. And that's what I'm going to be doing today. I'm going to be eating crow. You see, there's a lot of items we've taken a look at on this channel that just don't make the cut. And those are the tools that we're taking a look at today. So this is a long overdue video and the type of video that I'll continue to do as long as I have this channel. And that's because you all know I have an addiction to Googling deep, and this leads me to checking out a lot of tools that I may not normally buy. And because of this, some of the tools I feature on this channel may look great initially, but the true test is time. Do I actually use these tools and do they stand up? And frankly, the answer is no. There's some tools that I've featured on this channel that I've had issues with ever since I posted a video about them. And I think it's important for me to show you these issues so that hopefully you don't follow the same path that I did and think these are tools worth looking at. And we've got 11 of these tools to take a look at today, so let's get started and talk about my first tool with an issue. Now this is a tool that I'm probably the most embarrassed about by featuring on this channel, and that's because it's not a cheap tool. It's almost $200. And it's a recent tool that I featured in the last couple of months, and that's the Linknal brad nailer. Now one of the things that concerned me about this tool when I initially reviewed it was the fact that it had a proprietary battery system. That means that it's not compatible with any other battery infrastructure. But other than that, I was really quite impressed with this tool. After my initial impression, it was a heck of a lot lighter than my Airstrike, and it was much faster using the rapid fire feature. And it wasn't until I built this oak French cleat square rack that I began to have some concerns. And the key word in that last sentence is oak. If you watched my video where I featured that Linknal, you'll know that I only tested it on pine. And it does just great on pine, working smoother and faster than the Ryobi. But since we're woodworkers, we're not only going to be working with pine, we're going to be working with hardwoods, woods like walnut, maple, and oak. So let's take a second look at the Linknal and compare it to the Airstrike using a piece of scrap oak flooring. And to do this test, I've got 3 pieces of oak flooring stacked on top of each other, and it's about 2 inches thick. So I'm going to drive in 2 nails with the Ryobi and 2 nails with the Linknal. And to do this test, I've adjusted both nailers so that we're getting the maximum force from each nailer. So I'll start off using the Ryobi on the top and the Linknal on the bottom. Now let's look at a side profile to see the differences between these 2 nailers. And this is where that difference becomes completely obvious. If we look at the side with the Ryobi, you can see that both nails went completely inside the wood. But on the Linknal, one of the nails is protruding. And that difference becomes even more evident if we use the rapid fire feature. So I'll complete the same process using the rapid fire motion with the Ryobi on top and the Linknal on bottom. And just like before, you'll see the Ryobi side has all the nails in the wood while the Linknal has multiple nails sticking outside of the wood. And that's exactly the type of results that I got when I was building this square rack. In fact, it was so bad that I ended up grabbing my old Airstrike and finishing up the job with it. So I definitely don't recommend the Linknal, especially if you're working with any hardwoods, and I think most of us probably are. Sorry for the interruption, but I want to talk a little bit about today's sponsor, Kospet watches. So what are Kospet watches? Well, they're probably one of the most durable smartwatches on the market today for that busy lifestyle. And this includes people that love to spend time in their shop and are not only hard on their tools, but also things like their watches. So Kospet offered me a challenge to test the durability of the watch they sent me, the M3 Ultra. So let's start off easy on them and throw this watch into this bowl of water for about 5 minutes. Now that's all fine and dandy, but I've been an Apple Watch user for years, and this next test they asked me to do is something I would definitely not do with that Apple Watch. Now that's amazing. Not only have I never seen that type of durability in a smartwatch, but any other watch entirely. So now that we know this Kospet M3 Ultra is the real deal, let's talk about some of its amazing features. First off, let's talk about the battery life. Now, if you've had an Apple Watch, you know that you have to charge that thing about every day. But the Kospet with its USB-C magnetic charging port lasts anywhere from 12 to 15 days on one charge. Or maybe you're not getting any younger like me and your health stats are becoming more and more important. This watch supports iOS and Android, and you can track all sorts of health data, including step goals and steps, distance traveled, calories burned, sleep activity, heart rate, blood oxygen levels, and stress. And with its touchscreen capability, you can do anything from receiving calls to listening to music to even using it as a flashlight. And I've already found that the ability to receive calls while I'm working is a breeze with its active notification system. Not to mention I can send and receive messages with just a few clicks. Not only that, but this watch also has connectivity to GPS so that you can map out your next run. And this is just scratching the surface of some of the features that are available with these amazing durable Kospet watches. To see how you can get your hands on one of these watches, check out the links below and use the promo code to get a discount on one of these amazing watches. Here's a quick look at the discount you can receive by using the promo code KOLNPUT. Thanks again to Kospet for sponsoring this video. Now let's get back to some crow eating. Well, that takes us through our first tool that I'm going to eat crow on. Our next tool is a tool that worked great until about a couple of months ago. And this is a tool that I actually did an entire video on to show you how to install it on your drill press. Now the reason that I got this next tool is because when I upgraded my drill press to this fancy Nova Voyager, there was two things missing from this press. Now at this price point, you would think you would get both of these features included with the tool. The first thing is light, and that's easy enough to fix with a magnetic sewing light. The next thing that I can't believe isn't included standard with this drill press are laser crosshairs. In fact, I think it's harder to find a drill press without laser crosshairs than it is to find one with them. But because of this, I actually had to purchase some aftermarket crosshairs, and that's what you'll find here in the very back of my drill press with this Wixey laser. Now a couple of observations about this laser. First of all, it's not that easy to set up. In fact, that's exactly why I made this video here to show others how to install it on their drill press. Secondly, since it's an aftermarket laser, it's not connected to the infrastructure of your drill press. This means you're going to leave that thing on all the time. Unlike most drill presses where the laser turns off once you switch the drill press off, you'll forget that it's on and leave it on for long periods of time. And that's exactly what's happened to me. In fact, I've only owned this thing since July of 2023. Or at least that's when my installation video came out for this laser, and now this thing just doesn't work. And why doesn't it work? Well, I don't know. I've obviously switched out the batteries multiple times and even fiddled around with the lasers a bit to the extent of my knowledge. The last time it was in use, it had full batteries and was probably left on for about 3 or 4 days. And I don't know if the lasers just burnt out, if that's even a thing, or if there's some other issue. But either way, less than a year of operational life on a top name brand like Wixey is just not okay. And it wasn't cheap, it was about 50 bucks. And that, coupled with the difficulty of installation, has just made this a tool that I won't be purchasing again. So stay tuned and we'll see if we can find a better laser. Next up is another tool that I did an entire video on, but since then I've featured a lot of other tools that do the same thing, but they do it a lot better, including a tool that's made by the same manufacturer. And the brand is Mileseey, and they're known for precision measurement tools and things like laser distance meters. They also have a wide selection of hunting accessories as well as golf range finders. And because they have such a wide range of tools available, there was one tool that kept catching my eye on Amazon. The problem was, it was just a little bit too salty for my taste, as this tool costs about $200. The funny thing is, as I was taking a look at this tool on Amazon, the company reached out to me. Sometimes I feel like somebody's watching me.
I think my cover's blown.
So luckily I wasn't out any money with this tool, but there is one thing that's bothered me with this tool ever since I got it, and I even mentioned it in the video that I did about this tool. Let me turn this tool on to show you what I'm talking about. Now you'll see it flicker a bit, but that's just because of the frame rate of the camera. But if we look at the display, it's extremely hard to read. In fact, this tool is borderline unreadable. This tool is on right now, and I'm guessing you can't see the display. When I recorded my first video on this tool, I even reached out to the company to see if there was a way to adjust the brightness. And unfortunately, there isn't. Just take a look at how hard this screen is to read. In fact, you probably won't see it until it's right next to the camera. When we compare it to other Mileseey products that do the same thing, you can see what a remarkable difference there is in the display. In fact, this one on the right has a color LCD display. And I've reviewed a lot of laser distance meters on this channel, and by far my favorite one that I've taken a look at so far is this Mileseey D9 Pro, so I'll leave a link for this one in the description below. And the D9 Pro is the exact same price as the DP20, it's just a lot easier to read and a lot easier to use. So to avoid the eye strain and the frustration of not being able to see that display, steer clear of the DP20. So the next tool I'd like to feature on this video is one that I've covered a lot on this channel, and that's because it's such an important part of woodworking, and that's the featherboard. Featherboards are one of the most important tools you can have both at the table saw and the router table. And because of this, and also because one of my best friends is a lovely gentleman Birdman, I've collected a lot of these over the years. And I've even gone as far as making my own, which is a fun afternoon project, and if you haven't seen this video here, check it out to see how to make one of these. Since I have a lot of featherboards to choose from, there's one in particular that I'm finding is collecting dust in my shop and just isn't reached for that often, and that's the Somerfeld Tools Unique Featherboard. To understand why I'm not using that featherboard, we need to compare it to a normal featherboard. Since the main purpose of a featherboard is to give your workpiece support and to prevent kickback, it's all about the directions in which the force is applied. If we look at a normal featherboard, you can see it's applying force both towards the fence as well as in the opposite direction of kickback. If we look at the Somerfeld, you can see that it's only applying force in one direction and not in the opposite direction of where kickback might occur. And because of this, if I use this Somerfeld, I tend to use it over at the router table. But there's one problem with that. This thing is big.
It's huge.
And this is what my router table looks like once I apply this tool. The Somerfeld applies all the downward pressure that you might need, but the problem is this thing is extended to its full capacity, and this is only an inch piece of wood. And even at its full capacity, unless you add an extension, you're probably only going to get 1.5 inches of material underneath this featherboard. And just like with the table saw, you're only going to get force in one direction. There's no force in the opposite direction of that kickback. So even though this is a unique featherboard, as the name implies, I suggest that there's better options like the bow or even the hedgehog. Well, that takes us through 4 items that I regret featuring on this channel. Our next item is a high dollar item coming in at around $200. Now, I've featured a lot of 3D laser levels on this channel, and they're a great tool to assist with setup to line up all your measurements. I even have a full video dedicated to 3D laser levels, so if you haven't seen that, check out this video here. And this next tool I was super excited about when I got it in the mail, and that's because it's not a 3D laser level, it's a 4D laser level. What's a 4D laser level? Well, let me show you. You see, most 3D laser levels have 2 vertical lasers as well as 1 horizontal laser, but a 4D laser level has 1 on the bottom giving you 4D. And it's this 4th laser on the bottom that really gives this tool an added benefit. This extra laser allows you to perfectly align things like outlets and switches across your entire room. And I couldn't have been more pleased with this laser until about 2 months ago. Now, you may have noticed that this tool comes with a small remote, and it's a good thing because this tool is useless without this remote now. Now, you're supposed to be able to turn on the vertical as well as the horizontal laser with the side panel, but the problem is this is just a sticker on top of a couple of springs, and it's coming off now. And because of this, I can only reliably turn those lasers on and off by using the included remote. And remotes in the shop are kind of like tape measures. They always seem to disappear. Not sure what that's supposed to mean. Well, either way, I do think this is a problem that Takamine, the manufacturer of this 4D laser level, could easily solve, but until then, I just don't recommend this tool. Next up is a tool that I bought on a whim on one of my late night Google Deep runs, and I featured it on this channel a long time ago. This item is the Gypsum board cutting tool, and I thought this tool could be applied to woodworking, but it's just not accurate enough. Let's take a look at this crazy tool. So there are all sorts of issues with this tool, especially for woodworking. As you can see, it's got a writing utensil in the base of it. It's also got a razor on the very tip. And lastly, you can see a tape measure to line up your measurements. Now, you may have noticed that that tool has a wax pencil in it, and it's going to stay there because I can't get it out. And that's because I was testing this tool to see if it would accept a normal size pencil, and it just doesn't fit that size. And I don't even know where you can buy pencils for this tool. It takes an oval shaped pencil that I haven't seen anywhere. It's not a carpenter pencil and it's not a normal pencil. Now, the whole reason I bought this tool is I thought with the tape measure I could use it for layout when breaking down sheets of plywood. But it is very difficult to keep this tool straight and to have the lip follow you as you make your markings. And although the razor lines up with the tape measurement, the writing utensil is about 3/4 of an inch longer. So although this tool was fun to look at and review, it's just not practical for woodworking. The next tool I want to eat crow on is a tool that I can honestly say I haven't taken out of the box since the day I reviewed it, and that's the Chamfer Plane. And the reason I bought this tool is because I was eyeballing this woodpecker's version, which comes in at $160, and the version I bought is only $25. And I'll be honest, I'm actually glad I bought the cheaper version, because if I would have purchased that woodpecker's, I'm pretty sure it would be collecting dust as well. Let me show you why I don't recommend this tool now. So as the name implies, this tool is designed to create chamfers on the edge of your workpiece. You can see it comes with straight chamfers as well as rounded chamfers and even ones with dual edges. And the flexibility that this tool has, offering different chamfer styles, is really pretty nice, except when it comes to one thing. The only profile that I can say I can accurately sharpen is the straight profile, making those other profiles almost immediately useless as soon as they become dull. Now, they do make replacement blades for this plane, but they are expensive. In fact, if you purchase the woodpeckers, it costs more than the plane that I purchased itself. And what I've come to realize, instead of reaching for that chamfer plane, I'm reaching for one of three options. And those options are a block plane, ordinary sandpaper, or a router bit, which are all just a little bit easier and cheaper to use. Before we move on, I ask you to do me a huge favor, hit that subscribe button, leave a like, and leave a comment. It really does help out this small growing woodworking channel. Also, check out the links below, as I'll leave some better alternatives to the tools we're taking a look at today. And finally, check out my website, www.flynndogwoodwork.com. There you can find all the shirts that I wear in my videos, as well as some fun accessories and shop updates. And thank you to everyone who raised concerns about shipping associated with my merchandise. I've just recently switched companies, and I'm excited to announce all shipping is now free. Now let's get back to the video. Now let's move on to probably what's going to be one of my most controversial items on my list today, and that's because I'm guessing many of you have this item and use it frequently. I despise the glue bot. In fact, I've got 3 of them here because I kept on replacing them, and then I would have the exact same issue that I had with the previous one. Now, I really wish I could demonstrate how one of these glue bots is supposed to work, but none of mine are functioning. In theory, you should be able to squeeze the bottle and glue will flow up the side and come out the nozzle and go exactly where you want it. But it's been my experience that these bottles only work for a short period of time. The seals that are on the cap and the nozzle tend to break down, and they lose the pressure, which allows this bottle to work. And hopefully you can hear that, but that's the air escaping through the lid, making this bottle useless. And I've tried to replace the seals and tighten them down as firmly as they'll go, and I still end up with the same problem after a short period of use. And you see these bottles all over YouTube, and it's just my opinion, but I think you're better suited to just keep the glue in the bottle it came with. Well, that's going to take us through 8 items I've eaten crow on, and only 3 more left to go. The next item we're going to take a look at is something that I featured on this channel because I was seeing it all over Amazon, so I thought I'd give it a try. And this item is the collapsible and bendable level. I thought this was perfect to throw in your toolbox. And it is perfect to throw in your toolbox, but the problem is this level has a couple of issues. First off, the joints in this level are very stiff, making it very difficult to straighten out this level and make it perfectly flat. And it's these same joints and moving parts that cause other issues, one that's pretty important. And I think this is best seen while the level is folded up. As you can see, the level is perfectly level on one side, but if I push down on the opposite side, making it level, you can see how everything is out of balance. You can also see this from the bird's eye view, as you can see both bubbles are on opposite sides of the center. And that discrepancy has only gotten worse with the continued use of this tool, so in my opinion, you're better suited with just a smaller level. Now I want to take a look at a clamp that I recommended a long time ago, and this is when I was taking a look at almost every single corner clamp out there. And the reason I liked this corner clamp so much was because it was quick and easy. Let me show you how it works. So the thing that I like about this clamp is actually the thing that's causing an issue, and that's its spring-loaded action. As I place my clamp over my corner, you can see that it holds your 2 pieces right into that corner. But hopefully you also notice that that spring is definitely bending to one side. And it wasn't until the last time I used these clamps for a glue up that I actually experienced the problem, as I found springs on the floor and these clamps completely loose. With that much tension, the springs can easily come off and the clamps will open up. So in theory, these clamps are a good idea, but since that spring doesn't have any support, I'm going to eat crow on this item. Well, we're down to my last item, and this last item was a real workhorse for me until I built my first outfeed table for my table saw. Before I had my first outfeed table, I relied heavily upon these Woodriver outfeed rollers, and I have these in all sorts of videos. And it's because of the heavy use of those two items that I thought I should share two consistent problems that I was having with those rollers. The first issue has to do with the horizontal movement of the rollers. As I would push wood through the table saw, the roller would move to one side. Once the roller was angled to one side, it would then increase the height on the opposite side. So when I would push my second piece of wood through the table saw, it would catch on the roller and push it down. Now part of this movement may be by design, but for me, when I was using this roller over at the table saw, I wanted it to stay completely flat. And the second issue I had with this roller is that once it fell, there's very small knobs that hold the feet in place. And these would oftentimes become dislodged and it'd be very difficult to attach the feet back to the base. And there's nothing more frustrating than having to reassemble an outfeed roller right when you're in the middle of a bunch of cuts. And I bought these Woodriver rollers to save a few bucks over the Boras, and if I were to do it again, I'd probably go with the Boras. Well, thanks so much for joining me today on checking out all these items I've had issues with since I featured them on my channel. I intend on doing videos like this for as long as I have this channel so that we can get some secondary perspectives on many of the tools that I cover after some long-term use. So make sure you hit that subscribe button, leave a like, and leave a comment. It really does help out this small woodworking channel. Also, make sure you check out my new website, www.flynndogwoodwork.com. Until next time, take care as always. Thanks again to Kospet for sponsoring this video. To check out any of their amazing durable watches, check out the links below and use the promo code to receive a special discount.